What is up, Titans Nation? Welcome in to the 615. It's your host, Lee Hillis, and this is Titans Colts Recap. And it is brought to you by SeatGeek. You can use our code 615 podcast, and that is 615 PODCAST at checkout for $20 off any order of $50 or more. Tyler, should we go ahead and bring in our guest?
Absolutely, man. Titans Nation. It's going to be a little bit of a different tone on the podcast today, but absolutely.
And from WISH in Indianapolis, Angela, how are you?
Hello, guys. I'm doing well because the Mets are up right now. Go Mets. We got to get
absolutely
a run in the postseason. It's been a miracle ride so far, so we'll see what happens.
Absolutely.
But, of course, this is going to be a very quick show because I know, Angela, you've got to get off to the studio. But Titans Colts recap, very tough day for the Titans as Indy comes in to Nashville and wins 20-17.
Yeah.
But
it was a game, man. It was a game.
So Angela, were you there?
Yes,
yeah,
I was in Nashville.
Okay, so you were okay. So do you travel with the team? Like
yes.
Okay, cool.
So we have like, I don't know, 8, 9, 7, however many away games. And then we'll have a team traveling with the Colts to every game. But it's not always me. So I get like 2 or 3 games a year, depending on like playoffs and how the schedule irons itself out. But this year, I always go to the Titans game. My boss knows I used to work in Chattanooga, have a ton of friends in Nashville, used to cover the Titans. So he always lets me make that short little drive down I-65 for that game.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I get that. So as far as what you do, I know you've been on here before with Lee. But obviously, since I've come along, so just so I can get kind of a better idea, what are you kind of like the Colts version of like an Amy Wells or for the Titans, or are you?
No, no, that would be the Colts reporter. She's great, Laura Overton. She's awesome. Okay. So I work at one of the local TV stations. So
got you.
For like we're technically the CW affiliate. It's like CBS or ABC, kind of thing. So we travel. It's us and one other station travels to every game with the team.
Got you. So as you were there, Lee, do you want to go ahead and ask her about her takes on the game, or where are we going with
everything? Throughout the week, we were hearing about a few players that may play, that may not play. The one player that we were like, how did he not play? And it's Anthony Richardson.
Yeah.
What's your take on that? Like, was he expected to play or was he not?
Or is it because he's going against the Titans and they're awful against backup quarterbacks? Who knows? Let's be honest, seriously.
So I don't know if I necessarily would say we expected Richardson to play. There was a feeling that like of anticipation that he would be back. I'd say it that way because he did fully practice on Thursday. So he was limited Wednesday, full Thursday, limited Friday. So you would think if he was full on a day later in the week, Thursday or Friday, that he would be full go for Sunday. And head coach Shane Steichen said earlier or in his press conference on Friday, he was like, he's made great strides, like huge strides during the week, but he's still technically questionable, game time decision, yada, yada. So we're thinking, okay, well, there's a chance, but like knowing Richardson and his injury history, I was like, I'm not putting my stock in him.
So that's my question to you, as far as, because you are around the organization a lot and everything, because all of us on the outside that aren't like on what you do, because we all look at, is he even going to like reach the field?
Yeah, I think he will. Yeah, that's a valid concern. Like he only played 4 or 5 games last year and he only completed 1.
Yeah.
2. A lot of criticism of like he's too fragile and yada yada. I think a lot of that last year was him learning how to protect himself because he was out with a concussion for a couple of those games. His shoulder injury that sidelined him for the rest of the season was on a scramble.
And
he doesn't have the weight, like, even though I'm we'll get into that later. I'm done with Will Levis, but he doesn't have the strength and everything. He's not as built as Will Levis. So
well, no, I would refute that.
Really?
Richardson he's a big guy. Like
really, I've never seen him in person.
Big guy. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know what his actual like measurements are. We'd have to look it up, but he's like 6'4", 6'5". He's all muscle. Like he's intimidating. Like
Really?
I don't know if I would equate him to Derrick Henry level, but he's close in how like built he is and how tall he is. So you would think that he would be able to sustain it. I mean, he has to have a body type like that because he is a running quarterback. So he has more of a running back body type, but with the arm talent, I just think it's a matter of him making smarter choices and knowing when to scramble, when to get out of bounds, when to slide, stuff like that. We talked about that with him like this whole offseason of what did you take away from sitting on the sideline last year? What can you change to protect yourself? Things like that. Now, the quad, like, is a hip oblique is what's sidelining him right now. And that was on a quarterback run, but it was kind of just like a freak kind of football play. It wasn't like he made a bad decision. Yeah. And it was just because the bodies landed on him in an awkward way when he was on the ground and, things happen. But I will say, to answer the original question, I don't know if I was expecting him to play, but it was a shock that he wasn't playing and that Joe Flacco was starting because that was kind of just a definitive he's not ready. From what I heard from people on Sunday was that he was very close to playing, but I think they just wanted to, because he has such a history with the injuries and because Joe Flacco played so well against Jacksonville, even though they lost the week before, I think they were like, we have confidence that we can still go out there and win. Let's just give him another day. Let's give him another week. Let's not try to hurt him again. Let's be as we as a staff. And I don't know this for sure. I hear this from Shane Steichen, but I'm thinking in his head, he's probably thinking, we're telling him he needs to be smarter with his body. Let's also respect that and be smart with his body, and let's let him, he is the future. They have picked him as the future of this franchise. They need to be a little bit protective of him. And clearly, I mean, if the Colts had lost that game, maybe we're having a different conversation, but it worked out that even though Flacco looked like garbage, it worked out.
So do you
player?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, are you going to bring
another
Pittman
player?
Now?
And then Michael Pittman. We were hearing reports all week that he was expected to miss multiple weeks with that back injury.
I thought he was going into IR. So Angela, let us know because literally I literally was when I saw him on the field Sunday because from every report that I saw was. He was I even saw reports he was expected to go on IR, which is obviously 4 weeks. So and then he's the reason. Yeah, the jump ball to him in the end zone. I was just but
didn't look like he had a back problem, did he? Yeah. So
no.
one, and not to necessarily refute totally that original injured reserve report because I don't know who the sources were or whatever, but one thing to note is that it wasn't indie media that broke that story. It was a national media that broke that. So we were never hearing that. It was very much of a shock to all of us. We knew he was dealing with some back issues, but IR seemed very shocking and, where did this come from? For him to practice fully on Friday, I'm not surprised that he played on Sunday, and I'm not surprised that he was able to make big plays, even though he doesn't get targeted as much as I think he would like to be. And we haven't seen him in making huge, meaningful plays in the offense yet this year. He's going to come down with those plays when it matters. So we had him on our post-game show live after the game on yesterday. Okay. And I asked him how his back was doing, and he said, we got a hill to climb. So it's clear that his back is not doing well. but he's playing through it, which is a testament to how tough he is and how much, he's willing to endure, I guess, and how talented he is that he can come down with those kind of plays with a back injury like that.
Yeah.
So I think it is something to keep an eye on, especially if people have him on fantasy teams moving forward. But I don't know if I would necessarily rely on him week to week. But the fact that he was able to go was very impressive and probably the biggest story of yesterday, to be honest.
Because I know and then I'll get I know Downs had some injuries issues as well, but at the same time, was it kind of in with the Colts and that, was it basically everyone knew he probably would get to go, or where
Downs you're talking about?
Yeah.
I mean, he was officially questionable, but I really didn't suspect that he wasn't going to go. Maybe questionable means he was limited, but clearly he wasn't limited in yesterday's game. So
he torched us. I mean,
we'll get the stats here in a minute.
Yeah. Downs has been, I will say I saw this coming when training camp last year when he was a rookie. I knew he was going to be special, and he's just that shifty, speedy, short little slot receiver that can it's just like slime. Yeah, it's like slime, like you're trying to catch an eel or something. Like you can't bring him down.
Yeah.
But let's go and dive into the stats from Indy's side of this. Joe Flacco, 22 of 38, 189, 2 touchdowns and a pick. The guy who I feel like torched us more than anything outside of the receiving corps was Tyler Goodson. 8 carries, 51 yards.
And he's a young one, right?
Yeah, both him and Sermon are. Goodson, I think, is 23.
Yeah.
What stands out to me about these stats is, one, Joe Flacco probably should have had 3 interceptions, and penalties, one thing or another, took 2 of those away, which was a gift for the Colts, which I know you Titans fans are probably feeling some kind of way about some of the officiating of yesterday's game. But yeah, Tyler Goodson was so good yesterday. And what boggled my mind, I can't remember what point of the game it was, but Sermon was getting nowhere, no penetration, no progress whatsoever. Put Goodson in, and he was getting, decent amount of chunky yards, like averaging 6 yards a carry or something. He has that cute little spin move to get the Colts on the 2nd yard line or whatever, or the 2 yard line. And they took him out and put Sermon back in, and Sermon got stuffed 3 times at the line of scrimmage. And I'm like, what are we doing? Goodson just helped you drive down the field, and you're going to take him out for Sermon? Like, that didn't make any sense to me. The Colts had to kick a field goal when they really needed the 7. I think it was that made it 13-17. Was when they kicked the field goal. But I was just like, what is this play calling? Why it was so evident that drive and the drive before, I think it was all in that one drive. They called this one play where Josh Downs goes in motion, and Sermon went into one of the gaps, got stuffed. A few plays later, they had Goodson in there. They called the same exact play because Josh Downs went in the same sort of motion. Goodson hit the same hole, except he got 10 yards from it. And I was like, this is what we should be running with. You pick the hot hand, you keep feeding the hot hand. So once again, if the Titans had won that game, I think we would be having much different conversations about the decision making of the Colts staff. But they escaped able to not have to answer those kinds of questions.
And that spin move was absolutely beautiful.
Filthy.
Yeah, I know.
Filthy.
I mean, it was filthy. Yeah, as Lee said, it was filthy. But
and I understand, say he's a little gassed. Take him out, put Sermon in 100%. See if Sermon can get something going. That the minute that next play doesn't get anywhere, put Goodson back in. I still don't know, and obviously I don't think that was asked of Shane yesterday because it didn't really matter in the scheme of things. But yeah, that was the most perplexing moment of the game for me from the Colts
also,
side.
Like you said, you used to be with the Titans. Like, you've been around football. You obviously very well educated in what you're saying, and literally 100%. Me and Lee have talked about this before. Like, in the NFL, just within in a lot of sports, honestly, it's almost like, yeah, you've got your talents on each team, but it's about the game of momentum. So I get exactly what you're saying with that. It's like, we have the momentum. Like, why are we going to kill it? So
Right. Exactly. It doesn't make
completely get it.
Doesn't make any sense to me, but it worked out in Colts' favor. And if the Colts had not won that game yesterday, this news day probably would have been a lot more hectic for us. I would assume that
Like ours.
defensive coordinator Gus Bradley would have been fired. There would have been, you would have moved to 2-4. Second place, tied with the Titans in the division, like 3 games back from Houston. Like, at that point, it's time to potentially anything can happen, but potentially it's like, okay, now do we start selling? Now do we start, what changes need to be made? Instead, everyone survives for another week.
And that's where the Titans are at now, basically, because of that loss. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And the receiving game for Indy, Josh Downs 7 for 66 in the touchdown on 9 targets. Mo Alley Cox
always kills us.
Big
Mo.
Catches, 4 targets,
41. Big Mo always tears us up every game. It is literally.
And then it's crazy.
Pittman. And then Michael Pittman, 3 for 35 for a touchdown. This receiving core, of course, I got to see this receiving core last year in Indianapolis. But
yeah,
like this receiving core, it's different.
Yeah. Well, it's a lot more improved than it was last year, because there's a lot of criticism that Chris Ballard, the general manager, didn't make moves enough to secure, receivers to bolster that room a little bit more. You're putting too much stock in Jonathan Taylor, and then he doesn't play half the season, and yada. But Pittman has solidified himself as the number 1 receiver. Josh Downs is fantastic talent. A.D. Mitchell, once he gets his legs under him, I think he's going to be incredible too. And finally, Alec Pierce, like, he just didn't. As much as I love Gardner Minshew and think he's very talented,
Minshew mania.
He just, how the Colts had to design the offense around Minshew didn't really have a place for Alec Pierce. It didn't have a consistent place for Alec Pierce, as it more so does now. Even with Joe Flacco as the backup, he is more of a deep ball threat than Minshew was.
Have you seen those stats, Angela, about, I think actually this, like I said, I should probably have done more research, but I'm pretty sure if he's not number 1, he's probably in the top 3. Like, his yards per reception, I think, are like at the top.
Oh, Pierce?
Yes.
Yeah. I've seen that stat. Yeah, they're near the top. Yeah, which makes sense because he's not being used in a little dink and drop or a little slant, like a short slant route or something, or so it's not he's not going to have the multiple catches and for 10-15 yards. Like, he's the guy that's going to have he's going to have the 2 catches, 50 yards apiece, maybe one's a touchdown. So that's more what his game is like.
Yeah.
And the Titans side of this, Will Levis. Oh,
that's for a whole other podcast.
There was such excitement around Will Levis in Indy 2 years ago because they were in the same draft class, and there were a lot of rumors of Indy's going to take Will Levis, and is Will Levis the guy, and yada yada, and then poor guy has to sit through the whole first round in the green room not getting picked, and I felt really bad for him, but he's fine. So he's
fine.
Yeah, he's fine. But yeah, I mean, Indy, I feel like has a little bit of a tie to Will Levis just because of that. Like, I think, I mean, the interceptions are kind of tough to swallow if you're a Titans fan. They had
He leads the league in
seven
turnovers.
interceptions in 6 weeks, and one of those he didn't even finish the whole game. Yeah, not great. But I do think he has talent. I would be concerned that he turns into another Ryan Tannehill.
I would rather have Tannehill back over.
I mean, we talked about this earlier. The thing with Levis is, like, stats don't necessarily tell the whole story of a game, as you know.
Yeah.
Because, like, as a whole, like, if you look at him, it's like, well, they're not that bad. But the problem with Levis is the mistakes that he does make are like
continuously
game changing. They're game changing outside of a couple. I mean, this last week was a perfect example. That pick, like, what? Don't throw that ball. And actually, you were there live. I cannot remember. I think it was the third quarter. He almost had another one where he threw it right to one of your DBs.
Yeah.
Do you know the play I'm talking about? Yeah. I mean,
I think I remember that. Yeah.
And if the DB would have caught it, it was a touchdown. Yeah. His plays are just, the mistakes that he's making are, it's like we've talked about. It's like that toxic girlfriend in a relationship.
That won't go away. Yeah.
That won't go away. It's like, dude, like, you could be really good. Like, when it's good, it's good. But when it's bad, it's like really bad. We need to break up.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. Yeah, I just think it is the fact that his mistakes are game changing, but it's also the fact that they're stupid mistakes. Like, they're reckless. Reckless is the word.
The fumbles, the interception.
He plays in pressure. He sometimes plays recklessly. He's not poised. He's not confident. He's not, and that's because he's inexperienced, and that's okay. But you gotta, at some point, you gotta be like, I have to stop being foolishly reckless with the ball.
So, Angela, let me ask you this. So, with what you just said, because me and Lee actually were talking about this offline earlier before we got you on. And the thing that I struggle with is this draft class that has come out. You've got Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, and I'll even throw in Bo Nix, even though but I know I'm not like saying, but at least Jaden Daniels, you had CJ Stroud last year, Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams. They're progressing every single game right now. I mean, Jaden Daniels honestly could potentially be a world beater. He looks like he might be rookie of the year with Neighbors getting hurt and being out a couple games, like, because his stats were good too. But at the same time, with Will Levis, we're to a point now with him where I feel it's like, I think I've seen what I don't know. Yeah, I think I've seen what I need to see. Like, because why are all these other quarterbacks able to do what they're able to do? But he can't figure it out.
And I mean, every situation is different, but it's how I feel. I'm a Giants fan. It's how I feel about Daniel Jones. Same thing.
Oh my God. Actually, me and Lee did a pre-production meeting last night, and I watched the entire game. That game was brutal last night.
Yeah.
That was one of the worst football games I've watched in a long time.
No, speaking of
on both sides. On both sides.
Yeah. I mean, the Giants are, but yeah, it's the same thing with Daniel Jones, though. You see sparks of greatness, and then there's times when he trips over his own feet. And costs the game. Play. So, like, it was different with Eli. Eli Manning would make mistakes, and I'm the biggest Eli Manning fan. Like, you can literally tell me nothing negative about this man. But he would make mistakes. He is in the top of all time of interceptions. Like, I understand that, but the difference is that wouldn't, Eli's still a Hall of Famer. Like, Eli still won 2 Super Bowls. Eli still is the master of the 2-minute drill. Like, you can't, like, there are mistakes. They did affect the seasons at the time, but he's still one of the best quarterbacks to ever play the game. And I will stand on that. So, like, it's not like you I think the difference between Will Levis and Eli Manning or Daniel Jones is will Levis be given the years, the time, the whatever to get rid of those mistakes, to learn and to have a career as long as Eli's, because he wasn't winning the Super Bowl his rookie year. Like
Neither was Peyton.
Right.
Led
and
the league in interceptions.
Peyton was terrible his rookie year in Indy. And so, you have to keep it in perspective. It's just a matter of, we live in a society now that's very impatient. So you saw it with the Carolina Panthers and Bryce Young and Frank Reich. Like there's what's the word I'm looking for? The rope or whatever is getting shorter and shorter and shorter. The leash. Your leash is getting shorter and shorter and shorter. As impatient as our society gets. So will these guys be given all this time? Eli, Ben Roethlisberger, Peyton, they didn't have to deal with social media. They didn't have to deal with the keyboard warriors, the podcasters ripping them apart after a game. Like, they only had print media and maybe some national TV.
I agree with
that. That was it.
Absolutely.
So, like, the question is, will Levis be given the time to not have his mistakes and his meme-worthy moments like be a thing of the past, or is that going to be his whole NFL identity? That's the question. I don't know if anyone knows the answer to it. I know you guys want to know the answer and you want him out, which is fair.
So
that's
fair. We actually, me and Lee, I will tell you, contrary to other podcasters and stuff, me and Lee kind of have had what you just said. Like, we've had that mentality for a while. But after you can only keep saying, hey, is this going to get better? Is this going to get better? At this point, the Titans organization, and I mean outside of the players, need to understand, do I think Mason could come in and win more games than Will Levis right now? Absolutely. Yeah. Is it going to be pretty? No. But at the same time, like, the Titans are not making the playoffs, I don't think. I don't think they're definitely not winning the Super Bowl. But at the end of the day, like, Mason Rudolph, and I know it was a depleted Miami team that we dumped on or whatever. But at the same time, people have to remember, kind of when you were talking about Eli, but Eli was way better than Trent Dilfer. But people forget Trent Dilfer won a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
You have to, Nick Folk, people have to remember, like, at the end of the day, I don't really care about your stats or what you do. If we win, that's all I care about.
Yeah.
Now,
so I will say, if it's any consolation to you guys about Will Levis, the Colts defense was coming into this game with a lot to prove and like a very monster mindset. And they got some key people back, Kenny Moore, Kwity Paye, like the defense was becoming a little bit more whole again. They're finally like figuring a little bit out about the secondary, like making some moves after Jacksonville. After letting Jacksonville, the winless Jags, have 500 yards the week before, it was like, you guys got to stand up and do something. Like, it was one of those moments where it's like, I think they were coming, not that they don't come out every week hungry. I think they were coming out even hungrier to prove Absolutely. Like, and that doesn't help, Will Levis, obviously.
What is, that's it definitely does not help at all. What is your take on basically like with the Colts and like the Anthony Richardson? Because earlier you had said that they're saying he's the future, right? Well, my question on the flip side of that, not like combating that statement, but I feel like the Colts are because I feel like the Colts don't really know yet because of his injuries. At the same time, I know they won a playoff game, but look at the Jags right now. The Jags literally paid this man, you already has Lawrence, all this money. And me and Lee were talking about this earlier. I'm like, I don't even know what's worse, being a Titans fan or a Jags fan right now, because it's all in the division.
How about the Bengals fans? Joe Burrow all that kind of cash? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but good Lord. I mean, I don't – the Lawrence one, I will never understand. I mean –
Well,
I mean, I think Peterson could get fired, to be honest.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. But your question about Anthony Richardson, is it like is he going to be the future? Is that what your question is about the Colts?
Yeah, like because I haven't because you said earlier you were like that's what they're saying he's going to be the future, but like do you like from what you've seen, do you think he could be?
Yeah, so last year I got a little flack, not from really many people, but from my like friends and counterparts. They would like give me a little ribbing because I went on air and I said Shane Steichen and Anthony Richardson can be a dynasty. And everyone was like, "Whoa, a dynasty! Like that's a little much." And yada. I still believe that. I do. It might be coming a little later than I thought, but I still think that with Shane Steichen's creative offensive mind and Anthony Richardson's raw talent, they can combine to be something really special in Indy for the long term.
Yeah.
I can't really definitively answer your question because, which I guess this is kind of an answer, but because I haven't seen him play enough. I haven't seen Richardson play enough. Like
that's what I'm saying. That's my thing. Yeah.
That's the point of your question. Clearly, you know, is like, is he going to be available to be a dynasty, to be the face of the franchise, to be whatever? But I think I could answer that question at the end of this season. At the end of his second season, if this is the only injury that he has, the only time he misses, and I see he doesn't have to win every time, but I see the sparks of greatness. I see his throwing get more accurate and not just a little bit of luck, you know, like he had that week 1 throw that was insane. Like that was an incredibly talented play.
Beautiful.
With some luck. Like there's no way you make that play without luck. Right. So like once I see more consistent accuracy, consistently availability, like then if we get through the rest of the season, week 7 he starts and he does not have to sit out the rest of the year. I don't care what the record is at the end of the year. If I saw those sparks, I would say, yes, it still can happen. If we're going into week 7, he gets hurt again. He comes back in November, gets hurt, comes back in December, plays the last 4 games. I don't know what to say about that, you know? Like, and the problem is because he missed so much time last year, he's still going through those rookie growing pains. He might know in his head the offense better and understand the game better, but it doesn't matter when you're not getting live reps. It doesn't matter. So that's why we're seeing more of this inaccuracy, more of the rookie decisions, more of the interceptions, like in the games that he has played. So I just need more consistency. I need more availability. I need more consistency. And I don't see what goes on in the Colts complex. I don't see what goes on behind closed doors. So I do trust Shane Steichen. I think he's a great coach. I do trust him to know what he has and to utilize the talent that he has and to be able to develop a quarterback, because that's what he's known for, is developing quarterbacks. He did it in LA. He did it in Philadelphia. You know, he can do it. It's just, will he be healthy enough to let him do it?
For sure.
So we have Angela for roughly 5 more minutes for roughly, but let's get through this, like the team side of this combined. And the stats that I definitely want to go into are the ones that are marked. Indy, or not Tennessee's third down, 4 for 11, 44%, or under 44%. 95 yards passing, 3.5 yards per pass. Those are horrific.
Yeah.
The only good stat right there, 4.4 yards per play.
Yeah, I don't even think that's very good, to be honest.
I was gonna say it's better than Indy's yards per play right there.
I think The biggest stat on here is the passing yards because
95 yards.
I did say the Colts defense had a lot to prove, but the Colts defense is also not very good. And specifically the secondary is not very good. They're very young, inexperienced. Like besides Kenny Moore, who's 7-8 years in the league, the next most tenured player in the NFL is 3 years. So there's a lot of injuries on the secondary for the Colts, a lot of young players, like they're starting people they picked up off the waiver wire at the end of August. Like it's a mixed bag back there. And for the Titans to not be able to take advantage of that more, that says a lot about Will Levis, Tyler. It says a lot about Will Levis.
Absolutely.
William Donovan Levis.
Yeah. So and like there's no excuse to go back to your Will Levis topic.
Yeah.
There's really no excuse for him not to have over 100 it's not like he doesn't have the weapons. Tyler Boyd, Hopkins, like literally anyone you could want. Calvin Ridley. You have in your arsenal. Pick one and throw it to them, Like
that's our issue. And Andrew, like to answer like what you're saying, like that's the thing that like Titans fans and me and Lee all have like incredible issues with. Honestly, like on paper, to be honest, like, and I mean as a whole, name a better receiving core that Will Levis has to throw into in the league. Like, yeah, you might have like some superstars here and there, but at the end of the day, like if you look at our roster, we should have a winning record just by our roster, especially with how great our defense is. Like
yes, exactly. Yeah. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but
no, you're good. I'm good.
You would think losing Derrick Henry would be a big loss. Tony Pollard's on my fantasy and helping me win every week. Like that is not a loss. Like to your point, now that we're discussing it, now that I'm thinking more about the Titans situation a little bit deeper than the Colts, you kind of have to put it on Will Levis. I mean, the offensive line looked good for you guys yesterday. Like
penalties.
That's where I'm at. We didn't get sacked, but
the penalties.
Well, the penalties too, but yeah.
The penalties was a big thing. The penalties, 113 yards,
penalties.
That's really bad. I mean, yeah. It's almost like the Titans' problem is not what they have in the locker room. It's not the talent. It's not the coaching. It's discipline. Penalties, mistakes, interceptions, fumbles, those are the things that are causing the 1 and 4, 1 and 3,
1 and 4.
1 and 4.
We have one win. That's all that matters.
And it was to the basically injured Dolphins.
Yeah.
Who come to Indy this week. So, yeah. Well,
but I guess we're probably going to lose Angela.
Yeah, she's got to go to work, guys.
I got to go work. And hey, the Mets won, so let's go Mets.
Okay. So what's the series?
Let's go Mets. LGM. It's 1-1. We lost last night, 9-0.
Well, hey,
Angela, best of 7.
Best of 7. Yep.
Yeah. We really appreciate you coming on. By the way, maybe we could do this again the next time the Colts play.
100%. Yep. If you ever want me on,
end of December.
Yeah, you just give me a ring. I'd be happy to join.
Absolutely. We really appreciate you.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks so much, guys. And the national trip's always my favorite. It's like coming home. So I appreciate you guys, and it's always a good time down in the Music City.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's always fun to get home.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Well, as Tyler said, thank you for taking even though it's just 40 minutes to come.
Yeah, no problem.
Run through some of this stuff from Titans, Colts.
Yep, no problem. Thanks for having me, guys.
No problem.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Yeah. See ya.
Well, next up, Good, Bad, Ugly. Presented by SeatGeek. The only two good things at this Titans team, Devondre Sweat and Jarvis Brownlee.
Yep, I agree.
And I said this in a text yesterday to Tyler.
Yeah.
Brownlee is a dog.
And do you want me to say what I told you when we got on the phone last night and talked about it? I'm going to go ahead and say this now. After I've been seeing what Brownlee is doing, being just a rookie, to be dead, straightforward, honest with everybody. Don't be. I think he's a starter, and don't be surprised. Now, I'm not saying Sauce Gardner completely, but don't be surprised if he's
that caliber.
If he's not your next type of Snead type of player, just wait.
Well,
and I know Snead was garbage on Sunday, but at the same time, Titans fans, trust me when I say Brownlee is going to be an animal in this league.
Let me pull this up. I found this, and this is about L'Jarius Snead. This is from Zach Lyons. Of course, we have something to get into dealing with Zach. In 2023, in the first 5 games when he was in Kansas City, he had zero games with a shutout where the receiver did not catch a ball at all. This year, he has 2. Passer rating allowed is 86.1 last year. This year, he's just under 75 passer rating. He's only allowed 107 yards. A receiving percentage of 43%. And he's allowed 1 touchdown, no interceptions. Last year, he allowed 185 touchdowns.
Yeah.
So let's run through this very, very, very quick.
Yeah.
Bad Snead's play was not great at all. It wasn't
as I just said what I said, and it was bad. It wasn't that good.
Ugly Levis, just in general.
Yeah.
Playtime from this weekend. Tony Pollard played 41 snaps, Spears 11. Chestnut played 3. Calvin Ridley played 45. Hop 39, Boyd 37, NWY 12, and Burks 9. Chig played 30 snaps, Wiley 23, Vanette 19. Defensively, Jeff played 56 snaps defensively. Sweat 53. Sebastian Just Day played 21. Gabe played 7. James Lynch played 6. And Abdullah Anderson played 4. Kenneth Murray played 66 snaps, along with Ernest Jones. Arden Key played 49. Harold Landry played 58. Jalen Harrell played 16. Jarvis Brownlee played 66 snaps defensively. Amani Hooker played 66. Snead 65. Diggs 65. McCreary 61. But this team, and I think Angela somewhat alluded to it.
Oh yeah.
This team is not like, if you look statistically, this is not a bad team.
That's the thing. Yeah, it's
on paper, stats don't lie, but record says something completely different. But y'all, I know we made this very short. Before I throw the intro, I'm going to show both these clips.
Oh yeah, for sure. Show those.
They're both from pressers yesterday. The first one is Brian Callahan talking about the loss.
So story of the game, kind of penalties at critical times. Had to get off the field in some of those spots to create some plays, and we weren't able to. We had 3 and out on offense or 2, did too many. We had some couple really nice drives and a couple of ones that didn't do much. We didn't really eliminate the chunk plays. They had a few that we were trying to get rid of. Positive side, ran the ball well. The run defense was good. First interception we got of the game, we went down and scored 7 points, so we flipped it on that one, which was good to see. And then we had two really, really good drives on offense, but not enough. At the end of the day, just didn't make enough plays when we had to make plays, particularly down the stretch in the fourth quarter when we needed something to happen and we couldn't get anything going. So frustrating. I still think we're better than what our record says we are, but we also aren't making enough plays to win tight games, and we got to find a way to do that, and I got to find a way to help us get there, because right now losing games at one-score games is tough, and we're in the mix and we're fighting, and guys play hard as hell, but right now we're not doing enough to win the games, and that's why we've only won one. So,
can you walk us through?
And then the last clip is Titans quarterback Will Levis.
I understand that's how it's going to be. It's just about giving your team a chance to win in the last 5% of the game, and we've had 3 of those games, and we haven't won any of them. So we got to start figuring out how to score some points in the fourth quarter. It starts with all of us. We can't point any fingers, and we got to just look inside what we can do better to put ourselves in a better position. But we can't have the performances we've had in the fourth quarter if we expect to be a playoff football team. So why is it?
So, and let's just run through this one last thing real quick. Zach Lyons talked about this on Blaine and Zach this afternoon. And he's heard that Will Levis is getting 2 different calls in the helmet. And of course, he expanded on it.
Run through this. I'm going to take a quick break, but run through that. And because we're going to definitely have to talk about that before we end tonight.
Okay. But Zach Lyons on Blaine and Zach, shout out to Zach. We may try to get him on, but he made the statement that Will Levis, from what he heard from Callahan, is that he's giving Levis two different calls in his helmet. And it's basically he's walking to the line he's given one call in the huddle. He's walking to the line, looking at what the defense is doing. And this is all from Zach because all he says is Levis is getting 2 calls. And I tweeted him like, hey, can you expand on that? Expand on the explanation of Levis getting 2 calls. And so Callahan's giving him 2 different calls in the helmet. He's giving him the first one is the actual play call, and the second one is the audible. So what he is the thing that I feel like is throwing him off is the thing I feel like is throwing Will off is, and I think, and Zach even alluded to this, the first play is the real play. And then he's given that one in the huddle. He's coming out, looking what the defense is doing. If it doesn't align with that play that he's given the first one, then he calls that second one at the line.
And so me and Lee talk. Honestly, me and Lee actually we I don't know if did you already say, Lee, when I stepped away for a second, that did you say that like we actually wrote in the question to like ask him to elaborate on it?
Yeah, I told him that.
Okay, yeah.
Zach and asked him to expand on that.
So in basically
calls
what they're saying is, because in football in general, at the end of the day, like normally with like especially, I mean, if it was like Peyton Manning, you could just, if they had the mics in the helmet and during those days, like, hey, here's the play. Peyton, like I know Peyton and Will Levis far apart. They can give him one in the air that he has to say in the huddle. But what it's sounding like, Lee, from what we heard today, is it's almost like he's saying, hey, this, and this, or this, and this, which is causing them to like not break the huddle. It's confusing them. So now at the end of the day, like,
and that's where that delay game came from.
And that's where I would rather, like, Lee, just for me as a fan perspective, I would rather have it a situation to where it's like, give him one play and hope to God that he knows. But I'm a fan, and Will Levis did it so good in the first half, and that's what killed me because me and you talked about it. Give him
the first half.
Yeah,
the first half. He looked like the Will Levis of last season.
Yes, it's exactly the text. I said, hey, check down, not there. Levis, take off and run. Do you want to know what he did in the first half that he didn't do last year? He slid. I would rather them give him just the one part of don't give him the audible, give him the one play in the ear. If he doesn't know how to figure it out, tell him to just take off and slide or throw it out of bounds, but don't throw a pick. Don't put
throw it at the feet of his receiver.
Whatever you got to do, just, yeah. So I think, Lee, you agree with me with that.
Exactly. And should we just go ahead and go into the rant about Will Levis? And take 5 minutes on that.
Yeah, we can do that. I will let you go first, and I will give you my 2 cents because I know ours are similar, but a little bit different. And anybody that watches our pod that's about to hear what I'm going to say, it's going to be different. So go ahead, Lee.
So the way I look at Will Levis, now knowing what we know, and it's alluding to what Tyler just said. Give him one call. And there's a lot of people. Give Will Levis one call, one play. And if he doesn't audible out of it and everything falls apart, tell him to just run. Run to save his life. But get yardage on it. But am I 100% out on Will Levis? No, but it's close.
Okay. I, as of right now, kind of alluding to that conversation that we just had about what Zach's, said today. I'm at the point now to where you also look at these other rookie QBs and stuff and what they're doing in the league. Jaden Daniels. Caleb Williams has progressed. I saw his QBR rating.
CJ Stroud last year.
CJ Stroud last year. I mean, even though his stats may not be great, somehow Bo Nix is out there winning games. And I don't care about the stats, honestly.
He looks like Will Levis, but in my mind better.
I don't even know bottom line is I, as the co-host of the 615 podcast, am officially saying I've got about a 10 to 5% hope in Will Levis. I won't say 1,000%.
I would probably think for me closer to 15.
Okay, well, so we're basically in the same range. Yeah, but I'm officially like, I'm not going to blow smoke up the audiences. Like, no, I'm just going to be honest. I don't have much faith in, honestly, I will put this on the Will Levis conversation. I have an issue with the coaching right now after hearing what I did today, after seeing the play calling X, Y, and Z. But that's my 2 cents. So, but yeah.
QBR efficiency and grade through week 6, and this is pending Monday night. The highest grades of the week: Caleb Williams at 1. Tied for second, you have Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow. Bo Nix is at 4, and Jaden Daniels at 5. But then you get to the freaking lowest of them. Joe Flacco's at 22.
Yeah.
Danny Dimes is at 23. Will Levis at 24. Deshaun Watson at 25, and Aiden O'Connell at 26.
Okay.
And the comment from Callahan about Levis, and this is from Jim Wyatt, outside of the turnover, I thought Will Levis did his job. We need to be better around him. And that is from head coach Bill Callahan. I do not agree with that statement. I feel like we're already loaded around him. But it's the play calling. I was like, yeah, you're muted.
Sorry, I agree. No, I agree.
That we're loaded around him. Like, we have, in my mind, a top 5 receiving core talent wise.
Yeah.
But then you have a really good running back. You have a really good offensive line. But the quarterback, in my mind, if it was any other quarterback with this offense, we'd probably be undefeated right now.
I mean, honestly, Lee, you pretty much took the words out of my mouth. That's what I'm saying, man. And I'm to that point. Like, I have tried to give him chance after chance after chance, but at the end of the day,
fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
Fool me 5 times, I can't do. Like, I mean, yeah.
But there is one announcement that we need to make. November 10th.
Yes.
Titans Chargers, live from LA.
Absolutely.
But are we going to be in LA? No, we're not.
No, we're
not.
not.
We're going to be right here.
Right
we're going to be right here with y'all.
We're going to be right here.
Watch party. And time has not been sorted out yet, but November 10th, kickoff is at 4:05 Eastern, 3:05 Central. And it's from LA. So we'll be here pregame, during the game, and postgame.
Yeah.
Right here as we get ready for Titans Chargers during the game and also sliding into Sunday Night Football that week.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So, TK, let's close up shop here.
What do we always say, Lee?
Stay classy and tighten up.
Tighten up! Let's get tightened up! Tightened up!